And so the curriculum committee was formed with the a chair of the committee being a board member, and with the mission to really find out what people think our students should know and learn before they leave Ellis School. And so the curriculum committee was a list of invited parents and community members who we pretty much dreamt up knowing who the community members were. We tried to get parents that have had children graduated already, some that had high school students that had gone through Ellis, some that still had students in Ellis, elementary and middle, and then community members who we felt we knew enough to at least know that they'd want to be involved in the committee. And then I don't know how the committee, I guess you all brainstormed who to invite to the dinner.
Right.
I wasn't involved with that.
Right, right, that's what we did. We brainstormed, we looked at, you know, we said we wanted community leaders, we wanted people who didn't have kids in school, who retired, people who had kids in school, kids in high school, high school kids. So we try to find as many groups as possible, and we just sort of brainstorm, we invite, and anyone who wants, anyone who wants to be involved. In fact, if you want to come to the next curriculum committee meeting at June 18th, at July 18th at 8 o'clock, if you're, you know, you can come. Then
It's open to anyone.
it's open to anyone, but we certainly, you know, give us your name, we'll send you an invitation. We'll be sending out the invitation letters soon, so we won't have to send you an invitation.
One of the criteria the committee talked about today was when the letter goes out to invite them to the spaghetti dinner, it's also going to have an aspect that says, if you know anybody else who would be interested, please let them know and let us know so we can make sure they're invited also. So they're opening it to as many people who are interested to come. It's not an exclusive.
So they should be contacting the SAU, is that what
The letter,
says?
I think that's how they said they were going to word it at the committee today.
Just let Michelle know you want to be part of it, and we'll get
It sounds like a lot of exciting work is going on, and so.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
That's nice to hear when it doesn't always feel exciting.
That's what exciting feels like, Michelle.
Angela, did you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. I got a little confused behind when we were talking about the balance of the general fund being 69,000 and then turning back 50,000 to the town. Is that 50,000 minus from the 69,000?
50,000 is on the other side of the balance sheet with additional revenues that we took in, that we just did not anticipate getting. So that 50,000 plus, you know, is approximately 69,000, those two sums together.
So those two sums would go back to the town, okay.
Yes.
So my question is, the fiscal year ends June 30th for the school year. So when would we feel comfortable knowing about that 69,000? Because that's, I hear what you're saying, May, it's not a large buffer, if you will, for the end of the fiscal year, but yet it's 69,000. I've just heard things like the windows, generator, the Title I treasure program. Like there's a lot of website, even depositing more money into the trust for the future of the windows or generator, things like that. I'm just wondering if that 50,000 that we've committed to turn back, great, that's there, but the 69,000 that we haven't committed to turn back, is there things that we can do with that, or whatever may be left of that, whether it's 49 or 39 at the end of the fiscal year? Is there ways that we can leverage that to make the improvements?
Really a unified school board decision, really, what you would want to be doing with the remaining balances.
I was getting the impression that you didn't feel comfortable spending that. That was my impression when we were just discussing that. I was following your lead on that.
I guess my question was, is there any
That's
way that you can
correct.
make some
That is
contingency
correct.
plans? So as an example, if you are gonna have the $69,000 left at the end of the fiscal year, well, this is how we'll spend it then. Or if we're only gonna, prioritize some things, so then that money does not go unspent if it then can indeed be used to, give us some relief, if you will, in the future.
Well, there's two things. One, that has to be spent by June 30th, right?
Well, it's encumbered.
Obligated.
Yeah, it has to be obligated by June
Right.
30th, so we'd have about 3 weeks to obligate it. And, we have discussed, our budget. This next year's budget, I mean, there was additional funds added at the deliberative session, so the question I would personally have is whether we wanted to offset those additional funds by giving more money back to the
Yeah,
town.
my concern though is those, the deliberative,
Right.
at the deliberative session, those additional funds that were added
Right,
were not added to offset an $83,000 increase, or $82,269,000 increase in the transportation bid. They were actually put back in with the good faith, hopefully, that it could be used to do other things to improve the school.
Right.
Which would be things like the websites, like supplies,
right.
like windows. I'm sure if we knew about the windows, that would have been one of our top priorities as well, things like that.
Right.
So I think that, I hear what you're saying about, hey, that money was not necessarily there, but I can tell you right now, the people who met about voting that number back in never expected almost over 82,000 to be put back towards transportation.
It was more, well,
Could we didn't expect.
No, exactly, nor did you, nor did you, nor did you.
Right.
So we have this ability maybe to kind of leverage something from this year to help maybe what some of the plans for next year are.
Could we, would it be doable to get, ask a request proposal by the next school board meeting or some point by the end of the month so we could, I'm really concerned with the windows, for the windows. And if we have that much fund balance, talk about using it for doing the windows. And even if we
You know
issue
what I think I'd
it
like, I mean,
June
I'd like to,
29th.
I hear what you're saying, Angela, and I was following Lori's lead basically because she's the financial administrator and Michelle's the superintendent, and I'd like to maybe hear from them at the next meeting how comfortable they feel, because I know there's only, 20-something days left of the school year, but I have a feeling maybe you're concerned that some things are gonna pop up, maybe, that you're not.
I'm always very cautious
Right.
about that.
And so
and-
it could be the very last day before we really know for sure that those things aren't gonna crop up. Perhaps is the hesitation. I was really
Right.
following Lori's lead on that.
Right.
Could we?
And so I'd just like to look to the two ladies here to maybe bring us their guidance and their suggestions at the next meeting, because there's still time to do that. And you can encumber right up till the 30th, or obligate, whatever it's called.
Yep.
Right up till the 30th, if we would like to.
And maybe part of that can also be some like historical information with what has typically come up at the very end of the month, or might have come up that we've had to, supplement last minute, or anything like that.
We have a board meeting next Tuesday,
Right.
which
To do
means I
that.
have till Thursday morning, this Thursday morning to
Yeah,
pull that together,
yeah,
but
I
I
don't know.
follow.
It's
Yes,
honestly,
so-
It's the end of our fiscal year as well. We're June 30th, so everything is like every last minute thing. So
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to
Related.
think of, like,
Yes.
what can we, check and balance, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the last couple of years has been so, in my opinion, confusing, that I'm not sure Lori would even be able to glean anything useful out of what might have happened a year ago.
Okay.
Like Mr. Safina could give you an idea of some things that would commonly come up that couldn't be expensive. I don't know if I'm gonna get that right this second, but.
I can
But-
give you an example. We're still dealing with an unpaid bill from 2006. And the three of us have spent untold hours trying to reconcile that account. And if it is determined that we need to pay that money, it would have to come out of that 69,000.
And that's exactly, so things like that are, if you will, risks, if you will, or potential liabilities, then deduct those out and then see what's left. And that's all I'm saying, is give us the cushion that we need for the liabilities,
Right.
but then if there's anything that's left, then take that, if possible, and invest. And I know that you all want to do that anyways, and spend everything you can without the cushion, but it's just,
Well, not necessarily, no, I don't feel that way.
well, if it makes, excuse me, thank you. If it makes sense to benefit the school, and if it makes sense to benefit what we'd be doing in the future, I would hope that everyone would want to, if it's already been voted on. The money's already been voted on, so people are expecting.
My feeling is if we hit the end of the month, June 3rd, was the last day of, if we have that $50,000, anything over it, and if we can put it towards the windows or anything, let's do it.
I mean, just my personal practice, what I like to do is I like to close the books people first. In a sense, like, I don't like to come up. my
You're
thinking-
being unfair.
I don't know, what I mean is, I don't like to add new expenses after April 1st, because
Well,
It's
personally.
hard to avoid because you have,
Well, I
you know.
mean, deliberately add new expense, I mean, because there's things, not spend things that you have to spend it, but add new expenses and make new purchases, you know. I mean,
But at the
plan-
same-
So, that's my concern.
But
So
at the
bring
same
it-
time, it's when you're looking at what the budget was proposed for next year, we didn't have all of the information, like the transportation numbers and so forth. So I think that if it was, that those numbers might have also been different in the future, you know? So I guess that's where it's having a plan, but then also being flexible to work with.
So we had $260,000 in unplanned expenses.
So we've heard comments from the budget committee in the past that, you know, if you need it, don't return it. So I'd like to see us use it if we need it. You know, we've heard those at
Yeah.
the meeting.
We can't
I
keep
hear you,
discussing
Ray.
this here.
And I think the board will vote on that with the recommendations from Lori and Michelle. We
Right.
still have time to do that. And I don't think the work would even begin until the summer if we were to do with the windows
I
anyway. This is where the
just
kids are
need to wait
safe.
another year with the potential of.
We got your message there, Rick. We got you.
Okay, so I'll make sure.
Did the other thing you asked, Angela, you can't take money and put it into the trust unless you have a warrant article that allows it. Like we were allowed to, by the voters, put up to 10,000 of our fund balance in. So they did vote yes on that. So we can do that, but we can't take any additional money and put it in there
Okay.
until we come up to the deliberative session and the vote next year again, in which case we could say if we have $25,000 left, we'd like to put it in there. We can pick a number.
Right.
We felt
Up
10,000
to,
was safe,
right.
yeah.
Yours is so certain.
Right, right. So we were able to do the 10, but we can't add more to that until we
Okay.
bring it to the voters again every year. And then that sits there until we spend it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So. Okay. Anybody else? Kathy? Okay, action items. Looks like we have a very long but quick list of policies to go through. We want to recess for a few minutes? Anybody need a recess?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, we're back in session, and we're gonna start right in on the policies, okay?
Go.
Policy BE, right to know law, RSA 91A. The committee reviewed this policy and we propose it to be accepted for first reading.
I just have one question on it.
Okay.
It says, the minutes have to be available in 5 days. What do you say that?
Minutes
Oh.
shall be recorded in
Okay,
accordance with
according to
public
public
inspection.
In 5 days, but is that the draft minutes? Because we don't approve the minutes until 2 weeks. So
Draft.
this is the draft minutes. Okay.
You wanted to say that, Brett?
Yeah, it should probably be draft minutes.
Anything else? Do a motion to accept for first reading?
Motion to accept first reading with Andy's addition.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, policy BEDG, minutes and BEDGR, access to minutes and public records. Policy BEDG was adopted in November of 2007. The New Hampshire School Board Association has a newer version which eliminates the references to sealed minutes and replaces it with proper citations in the law. In addition, the accompanying procedure was not included. The committee has reviewed our present policy and we recommend the newer policy and procedure for your review.
So we're just reviewing BEDGR, right?
Actually, yes,
Right.
no, I'm
No,
sorry.
both of them.
Both of
This
them.
is
This
the
is
newer.
the policy.
We changed the
This is
version.
newer.
Oh, this is newer than B, is this replace BE?
No, we
No.
had a
Replaces
BEDG.
BEDG.
Alright.
Motion to accept.
What's the difference?
It took out references to
Sealed.
sealed
Sealed
minutes,
Alright.
and it didn't have citations of the law.
Should we add a draft minutes to this one as well, to talk about 5 days?
Right.
It says draft minutes already.
It says, the minutes of all public meetings will be made available to public inspection no later than 5 business days. Does it Should we add, do we need to add that to that line? I don't know.
Sure,
It just makes sense, we
Yeah.
change the other one.
right.
So motion to, once it's approved for first reading
Mm-hmm.
with that addition.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And BEDGR?
Motion approves it. I don't have any issues with that.
So it's motion to approve.
Motion to approve, what is this for the first reading? Motion to approve BEDGR for first reading?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Policy GBAA and GBAAR, sexual harassment and violence employees. Policy GBAA was adopted in November of 2008, however, the accompanying procedure was not included. The committee proposes re-adopting policy GBAA and the accompanying procedure GBAAR for adoption.
I have no issues, so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there's the form. Policy JBAAR, sexual harassment and violence report form students. The policy JBAA was adopted in March of 2013. JBAAR should have been included as well. The committee presents it to be adopted this evening.
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I smell something burning.
Oh,
Somebody smoking outside?
I don't smell. I don't know, smell.
Maybe it's her
I'm
iPad.
sorry, I think it's your iPad.
she thinks it's your iPad. Is it plugged in? I would unplug it.
Oh.
Is that hot?
It's a little hot at the,
Really?
over here just a little. I'm sorry.
You might want to feel that. Feel the charger, because sometimes those chargers get really hot.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Just do
Yeah.
that. Sorry.
Chased her out.
Okay, policy.
Come back, Sarah, come back.
Goes around the corner.
We put out the fire.
We just poured water on your iPad. It's all set now.
Get me a new one? You're bored, you can do whatever you want.
Policy KBA and KBAR, right to know law, RSA 91A. KBA is no longer, okay, here you go, now pay attention. Because we had fun with this one. KBA is no longer a policy of NHSBA. The policy has been replaced with 6 different policies covering the individual requirements of RSA 91A. The policies listed below are ones that you have already adopted. The committee recommends repealing policy KBA and KBAR.
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Policy KBAA, public access to school board meetings. Policy KBAA was approved in 1994. The board has already adopted policy BEDA, public notification of school board meetings, which discusses public access to school board meetings, and policy BEC, non-public sessions, which details the situation in which the public is restricted in non-public meetings. The newer policies were adopted in 2007. The committee recommends repealing policy KBAA.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Policy KBB, school-sponsored community newsletter. Policy KBB was approved in 1994. The policy has been redrafted to include electronic requirements. The committee recommends the first reading of policy KBB.
Just one little, I gotta find out. I just found it a little bit overkill here. I gotta find it, KDB. There's a section that says to save deforestation of trees in here somewhere. Where is it?
Save deforestation of trees.
It's the third bullet up from the bottom.
Electronic.
Can we get rid of that? I mean, first of all, New Hampshire is 80% forested. There's people out of business, there's foresters and loggers out of business. I mean, I think this notion of doing it just, I think it's just overkill. I mean, we're doing it.
How about to
because-
save on the cost of paper?
Well, yeah,
Would that make you happy?
yes, that would make me happy.
Because we are saving something by
Oh,
doing
we are,
electronically.
yes, we are saving lots of money.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to accept as amended for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Policy KBC, News Media Relations. Policy KBC was first adopted in 1994 and never reviewed after that. New Hampshire School Board Association does not have any policy named News Media Relations. Essentially, the same information is contained in policy KDA, Public Information Program, which has already been adopted by the school board. The committee recommends repeal of policy KBC.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Policy KDF, use of students in public information programs, and policy KDCA, use of students in public information programs. Policy KDF was approved in 1994. It has since been replaced by the New Hampshire School Board Association with policy KDCA, use of students in public information program. The committee recommends that the school board repeal policy KBF. In addition, the committee recommends that we adopt the newer version labeled KDCA so that we can keep alignment with the New Hampshire School Board Association model policies. So recommend repeal
So moved.
and adoption of policy KDCA.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, so there's a first and a second to repeal policy KBF and adopt policy KDCA.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Policy KC, Community Involvement in Decision Making, and Policy KCB, Community Involvement in Decision Making. Okay, pay attention again. Attorneys generally recommend that there is no fluff in a policy because ambiguous wording can get the district into trouble. Our present policy KC is old and full of fluff. The committee recommends that it be repealed. The New Hampshire School Board Association has a newer version labeled policy KCB, which is succinct and to the point. The committee recommends this policy to the board for a first reading. So we are recommending you repeal policy KC, the fluffy one, and accept the first reading of policy KCB.
Do we need an anti-fluffy policy?
We have an
I do.
anti-fluffy policy.
An anti-fluff, no, an anti-fluff policy,
Yes.
so no policies and fluff.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Policy JICI, weapons on school property. Our present policy was approved in January of 2006. A newer version is available from the New Hampshire School Board Association that provides more detail as to actions the superintendent must take in terms of contacting both law enforcement and DCYF. The committee recommends that the school board accept the newer version for a first reading. So.
The only question I had about this, I was reading it, because this refers to anyone bringing a firearm. Right? Not just students. It talks about student violations, but it says,
Students and public.
and public. Now, the only thing concerned about this is,
The law.
oh yeah, policemen. Policemen come
No,
down.
no, no, no. This is the law that it's a
But
safe
in the-
school zone, it's a gun-free zone.
So a school, a policeman can't come onto our property
At the
with a
end
gun
of
if there was,
the-
if we called them for an emergency?
It's to contact law enforcement, it's, I thought it said.
There's a line that
It's
says
under
police officers
control of
can.
law enforcement
Right.
personnel
Are
are
permitted.
permitted.
Yeah.
Right,
Says it right there.
it says it
Okay.
right in the policy.
Now, what if we wanted to do a gun safety program
You can't.
at the school?
I would rather you do it at the safety complex.
All right.
It's against the law, I think, to
It
do
is.
something like that in the
Yeah.
school. Even schools that have, like, they'll do target shooting and things, but they do it at gun clubs, they don't do it on site.
Yeah.
No.
That's a,
The
I-
safe
State and
school.
federal law.
because I know there are schools that have passed laws allowing certain numbers of administrators or teachers to have, if they have license to carry, to bring them out of the property.
They're,
So-
in my opinion, they're in violation of the safe school zone. It's just waiting for a challenge.
I think that there was some talk about that after the Sandy Hook thing, but I don't think it ever got passed.
Some states have
Some
passed.
other
Oh, they have
states.
passed
I think
it?
Texas
Yeah.
did.
Some states,
Yeah.
Texas, Colorado, I think passed it, there's a few other states have passed it.
New Hampshire hasn't.
No.
We have not.
New Hampshire not happening.
Motion GICI for the first reading.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Policy JLCA, physical examination form. The present physical examination form was adopted in 2005, but our nurse and the committee have amended the form and proposed it to be accepted for a first reading. There was another form that was
Very
very
long.
cumbersome, and
Yes.
Carla requested this.
Motion to accept the first reading?
Actually, yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good job, Carl.
And then, budget transfers. This is for the security system, right, Lori, mostly?
Took the-
Motion to approve the transfers.
Wait.
And then just one other transfer for anticipation of some short-term substitute needs.
Okay, so new equipment custodial is
Security
system.
system, putting that all under one line.
all right.
So, you said motion to approve, did I hear a second? Okay, any discussion? You said wait, Andy, is there,
No?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then we go to accounts payable and payroll manifests. Payroll manifests, right here.
There's two manifests for AP. The first one is for $16,428. Special ed services. Legal.
1,600? Is that what you said?
16,000.
Oh, 16,000, okay.
Yeah. And it's like some professional development, other big ticket items. So I have a motion to accept this one for $16,428.08.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The second manifest is for $31,180.88. And let's see. Looks like cafe services might be the biggest expense on here. Yeah, everything else is just typical. Motion to accept the second manifest for $31,180.88.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that it for manifests? Okay, so we will go into non-public. We have to review the sealed minutes of non-public session 2.
Did you do the payroll? Did you want to?
Oh, don't we usually
We
just,
don't ever do anything for that.
we
except
sign it,
Oh, okay.
but I don't think we ever,
Oh, okay.
I think we
That's
have a
fine.
vote
yeah,
on favor.
I don't think we ever say.
Okay.
Okay, but it's approved. I mean, I've signed it anyway. Those are, the balloon payments are in there, right?
Yes.
That's what they're big.
First, yes.
Check changes. Nobody got a bonus?
No, we've combed it over multiple times. Nope.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're gonna enter into non-public. Under policy under RSA 91A3, colon 1, and room number 1 and 2,
personnel nominations, revisions to contracts, and negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Raise aye.
Johnny, aye.
Keena.
Call for aye.
We're back in public session from non-public session 1, and we're gonna entertain a motion to go into non-public session 2 under RSA 91A, colon 3, Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral 2, section 5, property disputes, update on the Sanborn tuition contract, and RSA 91A3 for superintendent eval.
Second.
Roll call?
Raise aye.
Johnny, aye.
Keena.
Call for aye.